Welcome back to Cure of the Common Game. Today, in deck number 698, we're going to talk about Yedora, Grave Gardener. And I am super excited about this one. This is my kind of deck. It is getting things to work differently than you normally use them. So, for 5 mana, we get a 5/5 Tree Folk, not bad. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may return it to the battlefield face down under its owner's control. It's a forest land. The important things are here is it's got to be a normal creature, can't be a token. It has to die, you can't exile it. And then you return it face down under its owner's control. It's a forest land. So naturally, I went crazy with this. So every time one of your creatures die, it becomes a forest. Okay, so that means Stratascythe and Blanchwood Armor are super effective, right? That also means your landfall stuff, like Lotus Cobra, Vine Lasher, Kudzu, and Rampaging Balos. Now, note, the beast tokens won't trigger it, but it is counting forest. I mean, Howl the Night Pack counts forest. Molimo. But here's an aspect I want you to notice. Multani Yavamaya's avatar. Yeah, reach, trample, +1, all that. The cool part here is you spend 2 mana to return 2 lands you control to their hand to bring Multani back from the graveyard. Now, those lands, the ones that you are returning, are probably going to be flipped creatures, right? So it's going to be your Veteran Explorer that died and got you 1 more land because the Veteran Explorer itself becomes a land. So then you pick it up and you get to play the Veteran Explorer again. Or any of the host of creatures it may be. Now, Slab Hammer tends to work the same way, although you have to cast it and equip it. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may return a land you control to its owner's hand. So, bringing that creature back that's a land, because it's turned face down. Speaking of face down, morph cards. Because this is a morph creature. You're going to play it face down for 3. Or just play it how it is for 2. When it dies, it's going to flip over and become a forest land. And then you just pay the Megamorph cost to flip it back. And it keeps, you never have to cast it. Because it, and of course I chose this one because it naturalizes when it turns face up. So, you can sacrifice this stuff, to your Ashnod's Altar or Foratog. Sacrifice a the list just keeps going. Now, here's the funny part. Storm Cauldron. We are going to be in a lot better shape for lands than anybody else because we have so much ramp, which we're about to get into next. You play an additional land, but whenever land is tapped for mana, return it to your hand. So we get to keep reusing those same creatures. It's what is it? This is the greenest deck possible. Reduce, reuse, recycle. We're just going to keep using over and over. So let's get into our ramp, shall we? We're going to talk about one of the worst ones, straight up to Mannequin. The reason why is there's a lot of creature ramp in here because even when it dies, it becomes a forest, right? So we don't care. Fintorn Elf, Arboreal Grazer. I hear that's a good card. Elvish Mystic, Llanowar Elves. Now, Gaia's Touch may not be ramp in and of itself, but it lets you double drop lands as long as they're forest, right? Plague Mirror can be insane with that Blanchwood, right? Frontier Guide, Sylvan Ranger, putting the lands in your hand. Rampant Growth, Moss Diamond, Natural Connection, Far Wandering may be a reach. Spells may be the only thing in the graveyard because your creatures, aren't going to go there, right? Search for Tomorrow, Untamed Wilds, Farhaven Elf, Wood Elf, Beanstalk Giant, Fertilid, and then our 4 for 2s. You know what I'm talking about. Ranger's Path, Explosive Vegetation, Circuitous Route, and Sky Shroud Claim. Now, granted, this deck does not take advantage of the Sky Shroud Claim loophole. I've got some decks that do. It just says 2 forest cards, so you go and get, a Breeding Pool and a Temple Garden. But not in this deck. So, we have a ton of lands. A little bit of card draw. Keeper of Fables, because I don't think there's a human, a combat human. Shamanic Revelation, Double Meat, Double Cheese, Return of the Wild Speaker, and Harmonize. But we're not done there. Stuff like Scavenger Folk. Yeah, when's the last time you've seen Scavenger Folk in a commander deck, right? You get to sack it to destroy an artifact, and then it comes back as a land. Oh, it's so good. Blackblade Reforge counts your lands. Oh, that's nuts. If it only had trample, right? Well, we're playing Rancor because the reason why we're playing Rancor is if you put Rancor on one of your creatures, the creature dies. Well, here you get them both back. You get the creature back as a land. You get the Rancor back in your hand. Hey. And with all that mana, you got to have like a Hero's Bane, right? Now, this is the sketchy part. I don't think it's sketchy, which we'll let you decide. Living lands. Okay? All forests become 1/1 creatures. So, this is all your forest. Your real forest basics and your forest creatures that are flip side up. So, your forest, your natural basic land forest, kind of automatically pop up after they die. Because they are forest 1/1 creatures. When they die, they flip upside down, and they're still forest 1/1 creatures. Now, granted, Summoning Sickness does apply. If you play a land and it's a creature, you got to wait till the sickness wears off to tap it for mana. But, yeah, living lands, and even one step up, Nature's Revolt to make them all +2 or 2/2s. So, I mean, if you've got Living Plane from Legends, rock it, ball out. But I don't. But that is, ooh. When all your lands are creatures and you have way more lands than anybody else, Overrun is kind of ridiculous. Because let's face it, we only have one non-basic land in the whole deck, and that's Rogue's Passage, right? So, a few other random cards. I do have Killer Bees. That represents our, the only flyer in the deck. Now, granted, there's Tornado Elemental to probably deal with some flyers, but we have Yavamaya Elder, which is, okay. 3 mana to cast, 2 to sack. So it's put into a graveyard from play. You get to search for 2 forests. The 2 forests go to your hand, and then you get to draw a card, and then this becomes a land. So much value. So much. Stormseeker, there again, is this the second deck in a row I played this? No, it was Sudden Impact. Same card. Sudden Impact Stormseeker. Yeah. It's not anti-blue, but it is kind of anti-blue, right? And then, I don't know why Scavenger Shroud Warbeast is in here. It's just a little thing. 2 mana Trample. It has power and toughness, each equal to the number of non-basic lands target opponent controls. Yeah, it fit the lands matters theme, although it's not my lands that matter. I've been looking for a deck to work this in, because I think this would be really good. Maybe Beast Travel's where it needs to be. Because most decks play a ton of non-basic lands because, you know, I would venture to say that most people prefer the 2 to 3 colors or up. I think 3 color is probably the sweet spot. But anyway, we have a little bit of removal. Reclamation Sage. Yeah, is this not perfect? Okay, so for 3 mana, we get a 2/1 that naturalizes when it comes into play, and free chump block. Yeah, right? Acidic Slime, same way. And then we have our enchantment removal package, you know, Return to Nature, Tribute to the Wild, Mystic Repeal. I love there's so much synergy in the deck that I have trouble going over because, like, the Living Lands part with the Ashnod's Altar could provide a huge mana jump in one turn. It's just insane because you can sack, if all your lands are creatures, you sack all your natural forests to the Ashnod's Altar to get all this mana. They all come back. You don't lose them. And as normal forest, yeah. So anyway, that is 698. I will definitely be playing this deck in the near future. I promise you that. By the way, if this is a good time, I'm open to play some spell table games whenever. But y'all hit me up, let me know. So that is 698. We're going to put on the wall. It is done. Getting close to that big number. But right now, I think we're going to go ahead and shuffle and cut.